Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat.
Resolves.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hello everyone, my name is DJ and you're watching the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. Today I have something special. It is a Modern Horizons 2 preview card from Wizards of the Coast. Thank you Wizards for this free preview. Let's take a look at Zabaz the Glimmerwasp. Zabaz the Glimmerwasp is a 1-mana legendary artifact insect creature. It's a 0/0 with modular 1. If a modular triggered ability would put one or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, that many +1/+1/+1 counters are put on it instead. It also has 2 activated abilities. 1 red, destroy target artifact you control. White, Zabaz the Glimmerwasp gains flying until end of turn. I am so excited that modular is back. It's a little bit of a tricky mechanic, so let's take a look at it. Zabaz has modular 1. It'll enter with 1 +1/+1 counter, and whenever Zabaz dies, because it has modular, you can move any +1/+1 counters on it onto something else. Zabaz is kind of a modular lord, letting you get more utility out of all of your other modular creatures. So as they die, they can put their counters on something else, but then get an additional +1/+1 counter. Very cool, because modular lets you stack counters and manipulate counters. And also Zabaz has a sacrifice outlet built in, so you're more able to move these counters around. Zabaz is a very cool modular commander, but you have to wonder how many modular cards do we actually have access to? And there are only 12. 13 if you count a silver bordered one. A lot of these cards are quite overcosted, but there are a couple that are so good they break into other formats. In fact, Modern Horizons 1 gave us Scrapyard Recombiner, a 3-mana artifact creature construct with modular 2. And you can tap it to sacrifice an artifact, search your library for a construct card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So you can just start getting different constructs. And there became a cool toolbox of constructs that could combine with the Scrapyard Recombiner. And of course, there's the most famous, infamous, modular artifact creature, Arcbound Ravager. This 2-mana creature is just modular 1, comes in as a 1/1, but it has this insane text. Sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Arcbound Ravager. Yeah, Arcbound Ravager became insane because you could just sacrifice all of these counters, put all the +1/+1 counters on Arcbound Ravager, and then you could even sacrifice the Ravager to itself and just put all of those counters on something that's unblocked or anything. It's actually a pretty powerful creature. But with only 12, we have to wonder, are we going to get some more modular in this set? Why is modular suddenly red and white? It's always been a colorless ability, unless maybe there's some red or white artifact synergies in this set. I cannot wait to find out. The more modular cards there are, the more Zabaz makes sense. And also the more some other lords could make sense too. Arcbound Overseer is an 8-mana artifact golem, and it's kind of a lord. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature with modular you control. This also has modular 6. You're definitely getting a lot of +1/+1 counters with this one. But honestly, 8 mana is a lot. The advantage of having a 1-mana commander is huge. So oftentimes having a 1-mana commander and 8-mana spell in the same deck is a little bit goofy. Because like Hope of Girapur is a relevant creature that people play. It's pretty popular. And I think Zabaz will be equally as popular because just having a little guy on the battlefield early is super relevant. So if you have a commander in a deck that helps you move counters around and gain advantage as you do so, you have to wonder where those counters going to do the most damage. Well, there's commander damage. We already have a commander that comes down early that synergizes with all the +1/+1 counters that we have. So let's get Zabaz down early, load it up, then swing away and deal a bunch of damage. Of course, I've played with modular quite a bit. But like I mentioned before, Arcbound Ravager is phenomenal. And I've always been a fan of moving all those counters onto something like an Inkmoth Nexus. In fact, Infect artifact creatures would be happy to carry all of these +1/+1 counters. So you might be looking at a part modular deck, a part Voltron deck, a part Infect deck with Zabaz at the helm. And actually the sacrifice outlet on Zabaz is key. Being able to move all of your modular counters around at instant speed is really important because it makes your opponents block everything and makes them nervous about how to set up blocks. Oh, you didn't block my Plaguemur? Okay. Red, sacrifice that, move the counters. Red, sacrifice that, move the counters. One more red, everything's on this, and you're dead? You're dead? I think you're dead. So really, it makes combat so difficult for your opponents, and that's what we're trying to do. Put them in difficult situations and get value every single time we're moving +1/+1 counters around. Of course, there are other really interesting things to sacrifice in artifact decks. We can send Ichor Wellspring to the bin, Ugin's Nexus, Spine of Ishsaw, Myr Retriever. In fact, Core Prowler, an infect creature that has a Dies ability that proliferates all the +1/+1 counters and the infect that you happen to have on your commanders, is so good. But infect creatures are not the only creatures that love having +1/+1 counters on them. There's a lot of different artifacts that synergize as well, like Walking Ballista or Hangerback Walker. And of course, modular creatures are not the only ways we're going to grow our team. Steel Overseer will slot into this deck perfectly. And of course, every color now has access to +1/+1 counter synergies, and white has some of the best ones. You know, we've got Cathar's Crusade if we just want to go big. Sometimes I really like having my removal spells or some of my utility spells have +1/+1 counter synergies too. For example, Collective Effort is a great removal spell that also can pump your team. Even Elspeth Conquers Death can bring things back from your graveyard with +1/+1 counters on it. But you know what? If you're going to get aggro in this deck, you can always just run Swords to Plowshares, Dispatch, get creatures out of the way and get damage in with your Zabaz. You know, there's a whole Boros precon out there right now. Everyone is enthusiastic about building Boros artifacts, and I think Zabaz will fit right in there. Yes, it's still an attacking commander because we're making our creatures more relevant, but there's so much play to it by sacrificing and bringing things back and moving counters around and getting value every time that it's going to feel more like an engine than just a turn your creatures sideways deck. I think people are going to really enjoy Zabaz, the Glimmer Wasp. Thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for giving me this free preview card. It's amazing. And thank you to Cool Stuff Inc. They're the sponsor of the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. If you want to pick up Zabaz or other Modern Horizons 2, check them out. They've got a bunch of pre-sales up right now. And of course, when the set comes out, you're just going to buy up all those Commander singles. I also want to thank my patrons. They're amazing. And thank you for tuning in. I'm excited to talk about more Modern Horizons 2 Commander cards. Bye-bye, everyone.